missing girl found dead in singer David's Tesla. We now know police have searched a home in the Hollywood Hills where David had been living.
This video shows crime scene investigators carrying out a laptop and other items.
You just seem very lively and friendly. I just hope that the truth comes out and she gets justice for what happened to her.
Messages between Celeste and her friend at the time she was missing. Are you going to talk to David or go back with him, because I don't want you to get into any more trouble with him?
Nobody ever caught me, but I've spoken too soon. In the back of a police car.
You're not looking good, dude.
Right now, parts of the internet are re-examining everything connected to David through a completely different lens. Old clips, lyrics, journal entries, and even case documents tied to Celeste Rivos Hernandez are resurfacing. And Reddit, in particular, is asking uncomfortable questions. Before we go any further, this is important. None of this is confirmed. These are online discussions, theories, and speculation. But once these pieces started circulating again, people couldn't stop connecting dots. And that's why this conversation has exploded. Over the past few weeks, users resurfaced an old documentary clip that's more than 2 years old. In that footage, David talks about culture being a major influence on his music and mentions that he writes poetry daily. People zeroed in on a moment where a poem on his phone allegedly referenced blood, storing it, drinking it, and ritual-like language surrounding it. Again, this is old footage. It's not new. But once it started circulating again, people began revisiting everything connected to the case with a different perspective. And that's when things started lining up in ways that made some users uncomfortable. One of the biggest points fueling speculation is a discrepancy people noticed in official documents related to Celeste. According to publicly discussed information online, the medical examiner listed her weight at around 70 pounds. Meanwhile, a missing persons report from her hometown sheriff's department reportedly listed her closer to 120 pounds. That gap alone triggered a wave of questions. Could that kind of weight difference happen naturally? Could decomposition explain it? Was the timeline weeks, or was it months? And why do those timelines seem to shift depending on which report people are referencing? Some users argue that decomposition fully explains the difference. Others believe the timeline doesn't support such an extreme change. And then, inevitably, speculation spiraled into darker territory, including theories involving bodily fluids, including blood. They went digging through old interviews and clips, pulling up videos of David discussing imagery in his work, including white roses. In one clip, he describes white roses as beautiful because they resemble a human drained of blood. For some viewers, that's just poetic language, symbolism, artistic expression. For others, when paired with blood-related poems, case details, and resurfaced footage, it suddenly felt unsettling. People began pointing out repeated visual themes across his work: white clothing marked with red, white flowers stained or contrasted with blood imagery, and a consistent focus on innocence versus destruction. To some, this feels intentional, a motif he returns to again and again. To others, it feels like people are reaching, projecting meaning where none exists. And that divide is exactly where Reddit threads started breaking into sides. One user jumped in to say that Celeste's listed weight could be fully explained by decomposition and time, not anything ritualistic or violent beyond what's already known. That sparked debates over forensic timelines, weeks versus months, and why official explanations don't always feel consistent to the public. Then another comment pushed the conversation even further. Someone pointed out that one of David's idols, Playboi Carti, openly embraces vampire imagery. On its own, that means nothing. Vampire aesthetics have been part of music culture for years. Shock value, rebellion, theatrical darkness. Playboi Carti has leaned into that image heavily, and many artists follow similar aesthetics. But when people are already talking about blood poems, ritual language, white roses, red-stained visuals, and now vampire symbolism, some viewers felt like it wasn't just random anymore. That's when people shifted focus from visuals to writing. Users started revisiting David's journals, notes, and the withered scrapbook material. And that's where the tone felt much more personal. The opening pages read like a psychological setup, not just for an album, but for a state of mind. He talks about who he was, what he was going through, and how everything around him shaped him. It doesn't read like a distant reflection. It reads like someone writing from inside the chaos. Then people focused on specific tracks. The first song, Atomic Land, is described as being about delusion in a relationship, falling in love with an idea of someone rather than the reality. Letting that emotional rush take over, knowing choices are wrong, while making them anyway. That stood out to a lot of readers, because that's not casual heartbreak language. That's someone acknowledging a loss of control and perspective in real time. Then comes Sky, which doesn't lighten the mood at all. The writing talks about emotional instability, feeling misunderstood, feeling like something is wrong internally, but not knowing how to explain it. Feeling talked down to by someone he loves because he can't keep himself together. Read back to back, people felt like this wasn't someone looking back after healing. It sounded like someone documenting a spiral as it was happening. Now, this is where things need to be grounded. Despite all the outrage, theories, and nonstop online pressure, David has only been named a person of interest. There has been no arrests, no charges, and that gap between public outrage and legal action is a major reason this conversation refuses to die. People online keep asking, if the evidence is so obvious, why hasn't anything happened? And that frustration fuels speculation even more. But some users believe the focus may actually be misplaced, because while people are fixated on tying David directly to Celeste's death, others point out something that feels far more concrete. The fact that Celeste was a minor at the time of their relationship. That part, according to many Reddit users, gets brushed aside too easily. By multiple accounts discussed online, David was around 20, while Celeste was reportedly 15. Some people around them have claimed they believe she was older, possibly college-aged. Police statements reference that confusion as well. But critics push back hard on that explanation. They argue that in a tight-knit circle, especially one involving touring, management, and close friends, it's hard to believe no one knew her real age. And even if they didn't, that doesn't erase the situation. That's where names from his inner circle keep coming up. People mention friends, collaborators, and associates, questioning who knew what and when. Some go further, speculating that if anything truly dark or disturbing was happening, someone else had to notice something. And then the conversation widens to the industry itself. One name that repeatedly appears in online discussions is Robert Mongarith, a general manager connected to David's label and touring company. Reports say he was questioned by a Los Angeles grand jury, not as a suspect, but regarding what he knew about Celeste's situation and why police weren't contacted sooner. According to what has been discussed publicly, the focus of that questioning centered on responsibility and whether continuing the tour took priority over reporting concerns. That detail alone raised eyebrows, because once people zoom out, they're no longer just questioning David. They're questioning the system around him, the adults, the managers, the label, and the people with power who may have seen warning signs and stayed silent. And that's really the heart of why this story won't settle. Not because of confirmed facts, but because of unanswered questions. Before we wrap up, if you appreciate calm, investigative commentary that breaks down online conversations without jumping to conclusions, make sure to like, follow, subscribe, and share the Hollywood Tea Room. Your support helps keep these discussions responsible, grounded, and focused on facts over rumors.